All right, we'll get back to the Niners after Anthony Slater, our 95.7 Game Insider, the Athletics best on the Warriors beat. Now, Anthony, you on the road, man? Good morning.
You know, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. When you look at the schedule preseason, you're like, gosh, I kind of want to skip like one or two trips. Like Houston, New Orleans, back-to-back. Always looks like a great one to skip. I didn't know that was going to feel like such a big game because who thought that was
So you skipped it. I wonder if you snuck to the Golden One Center as the Kings are playing well. They won 6 in a row. I know you've been covering the Kings as well, but we welcome Anthony Slater to the Morning Roast. One of our favorites is always here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. And, yeah, it was a big game yesterday. To get their first road win the way they did it with the Splash Brothers scoring over 74 points combined by the Splash Brothers, 17-27 for the three-point line. And just, I mean, we can't scoff at it being the Rockets. He's got to pick up dubs right now. And getting that win last night and then, of course, Friday night against the New York Knicks, they feel good about themselves now. And who knows? Maybe they could go 3-1 this week and be 10-10 by the end of the week.
Yeah, I mean, and the big thing's Klay Thompson, right? I mean, like, he was pretty openly searching for a game like that. And I think in a lot of ways for the Warriors, it's good that he finally obtained it.
Absolutely.
And because not only, it's great, he scores 41, you win the game probably because he does that, but also maybe he'll stop, like, searching for it at all times. I think he looks a little fresher than we've seen, just the way he was kind of popping around the court, the legs. He was getting into his jumper a bit more. He was hitting deep threes at times. Everything's been short, so I just think that was the best sign.
He also had a couple of really nice, like, mid-range stops where he jump stopped. He could have gone up with it, kicked it out to Wiggins. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the shots that he's hitting. His overall floor game was really good. It felt like he was setting his feet on his shots a lot better in this game.
Yeah, he had a weird week, right? I mean, you had the Phoenix game where everything just, like, kind of finally came to a head. The shot selection had devolved so much. The shooting percentages had gone so low, and just he had that sequence where the entire team was so clearly frustrated. You have the post-game comments that were pretty obviously directed at him, and then you obviously have the Friday morning meeting where it's him and Draymond, which, by the way, I thought was another interesting part of the week, was Draymond Green's leadership kind of reemerging and him being able to have a conversation with Klay Thompson that woke him up a little bit, I think. And then obviously the patient Friday win, which, I think was the key game for him this week, but Klay wanted the big one. And he also got the big one this week. So it was like, to me, this was such a Klay Thompson week. And then we'll see how much that, materializes moving forward. I don't expect him to play tonight, but I just think, to me, he's the story of the week.
Break down what you were talking about there with Draymond Green and Klay Thompson having a conversation. I think a lot of people don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Friday morning they had a team meeting, and they've said they addressed the elephant in the room, and obviously there are many issues going on with this team, but it seemed pretty obvious, reading between the lines. It was more like Klay Thompson's shot selection was a major topic within that. And, Klay revealed within it that the conversation that I think was the most important to him was Draymond Green kind of, really, I think it was just like kind of an honest talk between the two. And Draymond's point yesterday on it was, at times everyone can kind of stray away from themselves. And he never doubts that Klay Thompson is obsessed with the Warriors winning. But I think, just as stubborn as Klay is, his belief is the Warriors winning is often like Klay Thompson, shooting them to a win. And I just think they kind of had to, Draymond kind of wanted to drag him back to the group in a sense. And, I think Draymond subtly admitted, like, at times he needs to be dragged back to the group. I think we all know the preseason thing that happened where he kind of needed that. But I think, larger picture, I think part of the issue early in the season, and I think we've all seen it, like Draymond's voice had been lessened a little bit for obvious reasons. You see a lot of these defensive mistakes where in past years he's yelling at Jordan Poole because you missed the pick and roll rotation. He's scolding Wiggins because maybe he didn't have energy on that box out or something like that. We hadn't really seen that, and I'm not saying we've seen it like super boisterously on the court, but the fact that he had that important conversation behind the scenes, to me at least, hints it's coming back a little bit.
Anthony Slater here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game does a great job with the Athletic. Anthony, I think that is big time because when everything happened in training camp, everybody said, well, maybe Draymond needs to do less of the screaming and pointing out people and that. And I just always thought Draymond can be Draymond Green without all that. You got to take the good with the bad, right? Draymond Green, when he's barking like that, and he's getting at officials and he's getting at coaches, you get the full Draymond Green experience. But that's what makes him a Hall of Famer. That's what makes him kind of the engine that helps the Warriors go. Now, Stephen Curry is the heart and soul of this franchise. There's no doubt about that. He is the culture. But you need Draymond to be Draymond, and I think that's a big-time development moving forward. Now everybody's starting to get in line. You see the defense get a little bit better with the starters in the half court. So that's huge there. What else did they talk about, though? Because I heard there was something about the youngsters as well. Some of the guys maybe not happy about the minutes they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've seen the mood on the bench, right? It's been kind of sullen. I think there's been a lot of, in my opinion, understandable, you could say pouting. I don't know what word you want to use, but just like, this is not where Kuminga necessarily thought the start of his second year would be. Moses Moody either. James Wiseman certainly not. He's in Santa Cruz at the start of his third year. And a lot of that is because the situations they were dropped in, and when you're drafted, you don't choose your situation. Kuminga, for example, in Houston yesterday, watching Jalen Green get all the shots he wants. How many shots per game is Jalen Green at?
Dude, he took a horrible 40-foot three-pointer off the backboard late in that game. It was unbelievable.
Hey, imagine if Jonathan Kuminga took that shot. How many weeks is he on the bench?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So it's just like, it's a lot harder for young guys to be, buy into the team, buy into the program. You can explain it to Klay Thompson, I think, a lot easier. Like, look what it's always delivered to you. You have 10 years of evidence. Young guys got to get their careers off the ground. Contracts are coming up soon in the NBA, right? How quickly do contract extensions come up? So, I just think, buying into the group was, I would say, the general theme, it seems, of that meeting. And that includes the young guys having to buy into roles that are very hard for, I think it's easiest for Moody just because it's a little bit more how he's wired. But that has been, obviously a problem early in the season. Then it bleeds to the defense. And, I remember doing a story last season, early in the season, it was kind of on accountability. Mike Brown was very much at the head of that, but also Draymond. He's got to kind of be able to get on the whole team, and that includes the young guys, and that's where I think it's been toughest.
So sorry, Shasky, where are we at with Wiseman? I know he's going to be down in Santa Cruz for at least 10 days. What's the long-term plan with him for this season? Not long-term in terms of like 2023, 2024, but for this season. Can we expect him to be back in the rotation at some point, or will he just be down there in Santa Cruz for a while? Maybe it's just not a fit here with the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I think it's still very much like to be determined. From my understanding, like it was send Wiseman down for 10 days and reassess, almost like an injury. How they're like, hey, sprained his ankle, grade 3, reevaluated in 10 days. That's almost like what this seems to be. Like, send him down to G League. He's going to play in Salt Lake coming up. I think they have 2 games this week. I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday against the Jazz G League team. So that means he'll get at least 3 games in. I believe they play late in the week, so probably 4. My guess would be he's there longer just because he needs these reps. And look, he can come back next week. That's fine. What do we expect? Like maximum, he's taking JaMychal Green's minutes, which is like 8 to 15 per game, depending on if he has a good first half or not. I don't think anyone believes that that's like best for his development right now. I think what he did the other night, which was, gosh, he probably played like 30 minutes. He had 19 and 11. He had good moments, bad moments, but he was out there a bunch, getting reps. And, that's just what he has to do. As far as long-term, could he get back in the rotation? Probably, probably would need like a Looney injury or something. Or, Draymond went down last season, and that would have probably opened the door a little bit for him. JaMychal Green, that would probably nudge him into the current picture a bit more. But I think he's a name that the deadline time will at least be, I think that's when you have the pivot point potentially. Not saying they will or won't trade him, but I think that's when you need to make a longer-term decision on him, especially with $12.1 million on the books already for next season.
So, like, we got these young players coming off the bench that are unreliable, inconsistent, whatever you want to file it under. You got a couple of veterans in JaMychal Green, Lamb, who I guess is a veteran, even though he's unproven, and then DiVincenzo, and then you got the Jordan Poole thing. How do they navigate these woes in the second quarter? Is it simply Jordan's got to play better and uplift everyone, or is there more to this?
You see the rotation tweak last night? So Looney played that first second quarter stint, that when Steph's on the bench, basically. We'll call him non-Steph.
Yeah.
But they give up like a 13-0 run or something for the second quarter.
And he caught a couple fouls.
Yeah, they switched that up at halftime, and they took Draymond Green out earlier. They separated him from Steph, which they don't normally do. They don't like to separate those two. But they put Draymond with the second unit instead of Looney to start the fourth quarter. So I believe it was Poole, DiVincenzo, Moody, by the way. No Kuminga, no Lamb. So it was Poole, DiVincenzo, Moody, Draymond, and JaMychal Green. They didn't, blow the Rockets off the court, but I think, they were maybe like a -1 in like 6 minutes or something like that. That's, without Steph Curry, you will take that, right?
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah. Given how this year's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there were some nice moments within that. Draymond hit DiVincenzo backdoor for a layup. They got defensive stops, which that second unit often doesn't. I think Draymond helped with that. So, I'm not sure you'll see that tonight in New Orleans because I think the rotation is going to be all jacked up potentially with rest. But I think moving forward, I think it's a good idea. Maybe you have to separate Draymond and Steph more and put Draymond with the second unit a bit more. Maybe pepper Klay Thompson in there if he's playing well, and just give them really better players, in that unit. So I'd say Draymond in the second unit will be the next attempt at something, and maybe that gets Poole going. Because remember we saw late last season, that final month with that Steph missed, Poole and Draymond got a little Draymond Steph action. Maybe they can jolt him to life that way.
Yeah, that kind of led me to my next question. How do you unlock Jordan Poole? But that's one way to do it, having him playing with Draymond Green. But if he's not playing with Draymond Green, I thought Friday night, even though he was 5 of 17, catching and shooting and not dribbling. He's getting in trouble over dribbling. When it's 1, 2, 3 dribble, okay, fine. Or catch and shoot, fine. But how do you unlock Jordan Poole if he's not playing with Draymond Green?
Yeah, I like the 17, because what I'm talking shot attempts.
Right.
Because what the recent history has been is if he's starting, he's aggressive and often playing well, but he's mostly just aggressive. When he's been coming off the bench, he's been somewhat timid, kind of. I mean, I think it's something the whole organization is trying to solve a little bit, but it's just he has proven to be a starter in this league. He's going to be paid like a starter when this contract kicks in, but he just at this moment can't be a starter on this team. And how do they get him playing with just the same, kind of zest coming off the bench? And I would agree that I thought he at least came with the right mindset in Houston. Sometimes his shot just isn't there. It wasn't yesterday, but. They just got to keep hammering it into him. You're a sixth starter. Play like a sixth starter when you're out there. But also, he has to play a lot of the non-Curry minutes, and they keep, reminding all of us that means he's got the best defender on him. I know at times teams now will bring back their good defenders. Phoenix did it with Mikal Bridges. Bring them back in the game when Poole is by himself and put their best defender on Poole. Because if you can contain Poole with Steph off the floor, who's creating?
No one.
Exactly. Yep, that's a good point, Anthony. Big Easy, so it sounds like Klay's going to be out. Anybody else? Draymond, Steph? Who else is going to be out? What's your hunch?
Yeah, it's a TBD at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised if you might see Steph, Draymond, Wiggins type rest. They rested all those guys in New Orleans the last time. And I think part of it is 2 big flights in the past few days, and really a long week coming up. They got Wednesday Clippers at home, Jazz Friday at home, then they go back there at Minnesota Sunday. So this to me profiles as the type of game where Rick Celebrini would prefer, some of the vets to rest.
Oh, man. All right, Anthony, man. Good thing you stayed home. I'll see you Wednesday at Chase Center. Should be a good one tonight down at the Big Easy. Hopefully everybody plays. If not, we'll see what the role players can do. That means a lot of Jonathan Kuminga tonight.
Yeah.
There's no Draymond Green. A lot of JK. All right, Anthony, man. Get some rest.
All right, fellas.
All right, man. Anthony Slater, our 95.7 Game Insider.